So, hello and welcome to another episode of On the Couch with the Ethicalist. Today we are with Dr. Naim Maadad, who's the CEO and founder of Gates Hospitality. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we are here today talking about Gates Hospitality. We also want to talk about the hospitality industry in general, but more specifically, obviously the focus is on sustainability, and quite like to venture into an area that seems to be picking up quite a bit of traction, greenwashing. But we'll get to greenwashing in a moment. First of all, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you started and where you're at now?
Sure, would love to. So, look, I've been in the region for 20 plus years. Let's leave it at that. I came in very young. My background is hotels, 26 years in hotels before starting Gates. And Gates was born in 2010. So before actually founding Gates, my last 8 years, 4 years was Six Senses at an MD level, 4 years with Anantara at an MD level. So I've traveled extensively, and my last 8 years in hospitality were really about development, operations, sustainability, and well-being. Basically, that's a quick summary of the last 8 years. And I was kind of saying to myself, why am I doing this for others? Why can I not do it for myself? Red tape is an issue. I've always been kind of told that I'm overambitious, whatever that means. It's a positive and it's a negative, really. If you look at it, at times it could be kind of negative because it does impose a lot of stress on many people. Not everyone's at the same pace as we are at times. So I thought I'm going to do this for myself, and I thought let's have a look at the vacuum in the marketplace. What's the vacuum? The vacuum is a luxury at the time. The vacuum is understanding sustainability, understanding the markets we live in, and providing solutions for these vacuums. And equally as important at the time, food and beverage. There was a massive vacuum in the marketplace here on the playground, and the well-being, the wellness. Again, people get the spa world confused with wellness world. Big difference. So Gates was born on the back of these initiatives and saying let's kind of focus on hotels, resorts, food and beverage, and wellness. And today, 14 years later, we have all of these business models well and truly working. And under these three business headers, we have three business silos: investment, operations, as well as advisory. And we are Oman, UAE, Australia, Central London, and Africa this year entrance across all of these kind of amazing lifestyle business. It's more than anything else. It's more about it's a lifestyle business that no matter where you are in the world, you can actually find people that will enjoy what you do and vice versa.
Okay. Well, congratulations on coming so far in that time. I know that sustainability is quite important to Gates Hospitality. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Look, sustainability is not important to Gates as such, only to the world we live in. And I think, the biggest challenge today that we have is education. I think people, sadly, people still think about plastic straws and plastic bottles when we talk about sustainability, which is totally incorrect. I'm an advocate that we should be looking at lifestyle, we should be looking at car manufacturing, we should be looking at clothing, we should be looking at construction. Everything is actually involved in sustainability somehow. Frankly, I don't know why sustainability is not actually part of the educational process at school. That's how essential it is. And I don't think there is any discipline or any business in life that doesn't actually impact sustainability at some level. Sadly, the commercial world controls all of that, and we are so brainwashed and so focused with the blinkers on that we just don't think differently. There are commercial solutions now that actually tackle sustainability. If you take water bottling for a start, it's so easy now that everybody can do their own water bottling and save a lot, not only in plastic bottles, but there is so much from a regenerative kind of processes, and I think that's essential to talk about, and making sure that we look at sustainability and define sustainability in every business, in every business model, and last but not least, across every age group, because there's no one too young, no one too old to understand sustainability. My biggest challenge today is sustainability is a trend by a lot of people. They talk about it as it's fashionable. Let's talk about the topic rather than really embrace it. Again, I'm looking at the young generation today, and I genuinely believe they understand it a lot more than we do. And that's credit to our generation in a way that we've developed that. Nonetheless, we are at the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much work to be done. I mean, look at the global warming, look at what's happening around the world, and we're still not taking it seriously.
Absolutely. A lot of people still believe that climate change is not real, and all you need to do is look around at what's happening, everything in terms of, you know, the rising temperatures and rising sea levels and deforestation and overproduction of food and so many things that we're doing that it's just terrifying. But just to go back to the hospitality industry in general, before I move on to greenwashing, which you've just touched upon, in the hospitality industry. So, for example, I was saying to you just before we came on here that I was at a hotel yesterday and there was still plastic water bottles. And this is a hotel that does have, you know, it has sustainability, it has sustainable initiatives, but it still has plastic water bottles, which I feel as a guest or as a consumer is probably one of the easiest things that a hotel could be doing, or the hospitality sector could be doing, is getting a water bottling plant. How easy is it? And also, what would you say are steps that hotels or restaurants should be taking to ensure that they are becoming more sustainable?
It's funny you bring this up. I was at a conference recently and I was on stage talking about this particular topic. And I think fundamentally what hotel companies should be doing is including this in their HMAs, the Hotel Management Agreement, in order to make sure it's enforced at every level. Because at the moment there are so many people involved in this decision-making process. And fundamentally it boils down to commercialism, money, saving money, or sadly a lot of it is ignorance as well. There are lots of solutions today in this marketplace in the last 5 years. And if I take bottling plants, only water bottling plants, there are so many options today, readily available. There are organizations that actually pay for this system to be installed in your hotel and kind of regain the cost over 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is. So lots of solutions. Nonetheless, what's the easiest part is continue on doing what we have been doing for generations, placing orders, which is totally incorrect. And I think, honestly, when I go into the same hotels that you're referencing and I see a little sticker in the bathroom saying, leave your towel on the, hang your towel, we won't wash it to protect the environment, yet there's a plastic bottle sitting in the same bathroom, I feel like picking up the phone and really sharing my thoughts loud and clear with someone, but I can't.
You should. I mean, as a guest, surely we should. I mean, I feel that, I straight away said something yesterday because I thought the more people who do voice it, the more that gets back to management, the more people are going to change. But I mean, for example, Zighy Bay. What Zighy Bay is absolutely fabulous. I was there a couple of months ago. I was amazed by all the efforts that have been made. I mean, reducing. You've got no single-use plastics there, or I think it's been reduced by around 87%. You've reduced your water consumption there by 40%. Talk to me about, as an exemplary model of what a hotel can be doing.
Yeah, so look, again, 2006, when we started the construction of Zighy Bay, so it's nearly 20 years ago, the actual process was to make sure that we utilize all the material from the neighboring region, which meant little flying stuff, little gas emissions. We used a lot of the stones, the rocks, the wood, the palm fronds, everything. So for me, that's sustainability. We're not talking about, so really if you were to kind of look at Ziggy, yes, water plant has been there from day one. So we don't even talk about that's a given for us. Same with water reduction, the same with fermentation in the kitchen that takes place, the same with our own team planting their own gardens, our own garden, our own farm that we have on. So it's basic living now. Is it really taking anything away? Absolutely not. It's adding a lot of fundamentals. It's sustainability in essence at every level. And last but not least, the educational process that every guest that comes in, everybody wants to know what we're doing. I mean, the water plant, as we speak now, we are relocating the water plant to an area where the guests can actually wander in, have a look and see how it is done at our cost, for the simple reason that we want people to know that it's easy to do. It's not, there's no magic. It's simple. It's hygienic. It's healthy water. And cost, yes, there is a cost factor, but rather than paying over 10 years, You're paying a one-off fee for these amazing bottling machines, crystallization water, and we're adding crystal plant to it. We're adding some music to it as well. So we're making an experience out of it to say to people that let's really focus on what matters rather than the actual word sustainability, great PR release, here we are, people talking about us. It's not about that. It's about fundamentally making a difference at every level, not forgetting that in the resort we have about 65 nationalities that work with us. And when these guys are going home to their countries, they're taking a huge learning experience with them because this becomes part of them. They become proud of these activities, despite the fact that at times they're oblivious to what's happening. When they join, it's like, water, okay, great. But eventually they have full buy-in and they become little ambassadors for amazing initiatives. If you take what we're doing in the ocean, if you take the whole plantation that we're doing, it's incredible. And so sustainability, I'll come back to that.
Oh, plantation coral.
Yes,
is it coral?
Absolutely, the coral,
right,
absolutely. All of these little initiatives, sustainability is not actually tied to anything. It's everything. Like I said, I started by talking about car manufacturing. We talk about phones. They actually design our mobile phones to fail in a period of time for us to buy another one. Why not add a software or something else and keep the same? You still spend money. It's not about not spending money, but let's make sure that we stop that waste. We stop that overindulgence.
That cycle of consumption and production.
Absolutely. And the same with retailing. If you take clothing, and really, there's a massive responsibility, a massive accountability. But again, it's a lot of it is where are the policymakers? Why are they not stepping up, saying let's try and frame the world in a way that is stopping all the human damage that we're causing? Because
it's all a lot of the time boils down to money. I mean, I saw a great cartoon where the basically there's a bunch of politicians or bankers or whatever it may be stood at a window, and outside everything's on fire, and they say, quick, we need to find a way to monetize this. It's just, unfortunately, that's what it boils down to.
Absolutely.
But so in fact that leads on to a question that the example of Zighy Bay is perfect. It's a luxury resort. It does sustainability beautifully and perfectly. So why are other hotels not able to do that? Is that because it's a balance between profitability and sustainability?
Sadly, there is a cost attached. Nonetheless, I think technology and solutions have been really developing very fast. So yes, from the onset, there's been a cost factor attached, but now there are lots of solutions. Some of the older properties have limitations to space, to the way they've been designed in order to re-engineer stuff, and there is a cost attached, heavy cost. Nonetheless, we are in a country, we are in a world where development is moving very fast, and we should be jumping on that to absorb new ideas, to make sure that we embrace them, apply them in our business places. It doesn't have to happen overnight, as long as we are on the right track. But going back to your point about plastic bottles, there's absolutely no need. There's zero savings on having plastic bottles today. Water bottling plants can be equally as commercially effective to your business as buying it. As a matter of fact, you can do savings. I mean, going back to Ziggy, we have the bottling crushing machines that we have. So again, nothing leaves the property. It's not about destruction. It's about you crush those bottles, you turn them into glass aspects. For Christmas and for we do these amazing ornaments that people hang off their trees. They know where they've come from. They know we drank that bottle, and now it's actually hanging on our Christmas tree.
And you also can make them. I absolutely love this idea where you melt the wine bottles into cheese platters.
Sure.
Absolutely genius. Small things like that make such a difference in the Earth Lab that you have there.
It is genius. It is helping, and it's also unique. It adds uniqueness, and every bottle has actually a story. So if you, like I said, if you did enjoy that bottle, and that bottle is ready to depart with you. So every time you put that bottle back at home on the table with some cheese on it, it's going to take you back to that experience when you've enjoyed it. And for me, this is the power of a brand. This is the power of what we're trying to do, is making sure that those experiences are transported with you to your place. And every time you think of that platter, you think, I want to book another holiday. That's the brand that I'm loyal to, and that's loyalty.
And what about things, for example, like I know you were just mentioning that space can be a factor for sustainability, and I know that there are hotels, for example, that are doing things now like putting vertical farms onto their properties. So I know you worked with Anantara for some time. Anantara on the Palm now has a vertical farm where they produce microgreens and things that are used for cocktails and garnishes and salads. Is that something that's easy enough for hotels to be implementing?
Look, absolutely. And again, I think this is part of the education process that we're all trying to infuse in the industry and across every sector. There are endless car parks, there are endless roofs that aren't utilized. So there are spaces. It's about taking the blinkers off and finding solutions and engaging with the right specialists who can come into your property and say, this is a dead space, we can help you with a mushroom farm. Mushroom farming is nothing. It's actually super simple. And it's incredible. People love that experience. People love going into an extremely humid hut and cutting their mushrooms. And again, talking about freshness. So the education is multi-levels, but people should not be afraid of engaging with specialists in order to say, come into my property, have a look, go to the ownership saying, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. This is a cost attached. These are the return on investment over 1 year, 5 years. We can do this. Honestly, if you take every single department that we have in Ziggy, if I may use, be it food and beverage, be it the housekeeping, be it the front office, be it the transportation, so forth, everybody can contribute because everybody is a consumer. We're all consumers at different levels, different quality, different classes, but we all consume. So if you really were to define sustainability, it's about things that can be used and reused. Mm-hmm. Without losing the sheen and the value and the presence and their value to you as a human. But what do? We're being brainwashed from generations. It's broken, chuck it out, buy a new one, happy.
That was an aspect of Zighy Bay that really impressed me, in fact, was the fact that everything is recycled, upcycled, fixed on site. So Armand, the sustainability director, took us on a tour, and we, if a sun lounger is broken, it gets taken to the back and it gets fixed. If a piece of cushion gets a rip in it, you've got the tailors on site who are fixing things. It's a great model to follow by. But moving on to greenwashing, because this is happening now a lot as more tourists require a hotel to be sustainable or to have eco-credentials. Marketing is changing somewhat to glorify perhaps some eco-credentials. Could you perhaps let me know what greenwashing means to you?
It's very simple. It's actually ignorance, simply ignorance. It's a sales machine or a PR machine that's trying to put a blanket on something that is not what it is. Greenwashing is people utilizing amazing adjectives to say we're doing and we are believing without actually delivering. So it's surface, lip service, without delivering or really contributing towards, and this is contributing towards the sustainability aspect. This is where I really would love to see policymakers and governments really stepping up and really putting some measures in place. And when you see a LEED certification, at least we know there is certain steps that people have to qualify in order to get that. So I think next is, and the guys at Michelin are doing now the green star. I think people are heading in that direction, and I think there should be some kind of specification qualifier in order to be saying what you're saying and delivering on what you're saying, rather than saying what you're saying and doing something else. And going back to my bathroom towel hanging experience is exactly that. It's not about saving on your washing load. It's about really what does that mean? How much will you save environmentally towards your business, towards your commercials, and towards sustainability objectives, and that should be measured. If you take the food waste component, exactly the same. It's a lot of people talk about food waste. Zero food waste. It's nearly impossible. I think food donation is what we should be talking about. It's food sharing is what we should be talking about. When you have these large hotels where they have amazing buffets, all of that food, what happens to it? I know full well what happens to it.
Goes in the bin.
80% of it goes in the bin, sadly, rather than having an agreement with a foundation of some sort saying, You guys send me a truck every day at 7 a.m., whatever it is. You can collect whatever you'd like, take it away, and whatever is not taken, some of it again gets utilized elsewhere, gets reused in different recipes and so forth. You're minimizing your wastage. There's no zero waste. There's absolutely no zero waste.
Yeah.
But we can shrink it. And rather than 20%, you can bring it down to 2%. Massive difference.
Yeah, I mean, we had the chef Russell Impiazzi from Sofitel Obelisk. You're smiling. You must know him.
I know Russell well.
He came on the podcast, and that's exactly what he's initiated at the Obelisk, is to have all the food that's not used, or a lot of the food that's not used, donated to the Dubai Food Bank. And I believe there's been 20,000 meals that have been provided so far. I mean, it just makes sense. It makes sense not to be putting it into the bin and to be giving it where it's needed. But also things like buffets, surely. I mean, hotel breakfast buffets kill me. You just see so much food that is going to get wasted. How do you think hotels should be addressing that? Is it minimizing portions? Is it not putting so much? I mean, does it have to be? Are you not considered a 5-star hotel if you don't have a grand buffet out in the mornings, for example?
I'm going to give you an example of what happened. About 20 years ago, I was... there used to be a company called Sizzler back in Australia, very famous, and they used to have basically a buffet. You go around, get whatever you want, and you order your main dish. But the starters, salads, the soups, everything was you helped yourself. And they put an ad out in the newspaper at the time saying, we're trying to reduce food wastage. Any ideas would be welcome. And they did this amazing kind of campaign. So many ideas. There's one gentleman who came up with an idea. He says, just make the plates smaller because they put less food on the plate. So simple, yet so effective. They did a massive reduction in their wastage because there's only so much. I see people, and honestly, you see their plates, it's like, what are you worried about? Like, you can always go back to the buffet and get what you want.
Yeah.
No need to overload these plates with mountains
Absolutely.
of food. So simple initiatives to answer your question. There are so many now. And really, do we need these buffets? What's wrong with live cooking stations where there's a bit of engagement, there's a bit of maybe a bit of a delay? Yes, I fully understand that. But if the chef is cooking what the consumer needs, what the guest needs, there's minimal wastage rather than lots and lots. So all you're doing is you're shifting the preparation and the actual cooking part from the back of house to the front of house. So you're adding value to the guests, they're seeing stuff, and you're minimizing your wastage. I think that there are lots of solutions. I think it's a topic that needs to be really out there, and people should start analyzing what can we do, how do we change. As long as they have the right intent to change, there are solutions. Now, are you going to reduce everything by 80%, 50%? Absolutely not, but gradually you can, step by step. You can keep adding, you can keep changing in order to make sure you are sustainable at various levels.
Okay, it is such a simple strategy to reduce a plate size, and I know obviously breakfast buffets are part of the package price for hotel normally, but I remember when I lived in Brazil, it was very common to go to a restaurant and you would weigh what you were putting on a buffet. So you're paying for weight, so people wouldn't just load that. I mean, I know that can't be transferred to buffet breakfast, but it's an interesting concept, something so simple as that. And like you say, there are so many simple strategies. For the consumer, how do they know whether it's greenwashing or not? How do they know if a hotel or restaurant is as green as it's portraying it to be?
You have to love and or hate technology. I think today we are blessed with information, really. There is nothing that you can't really access and do a little bit of research and digging, and you do get the right answers. So I think our generation today is blessed with information, maybe over information at times. So in really, you can find out who's doing what for what reasons. And again, it's not about reading what's on their webpage necessarily. It's not reading their own press releases. It's seeing what the market's talking. It's seeing their reviews. It's seeing people that have actually either stayed in that particular hotel resort and or ate in that restaurant, and what is their feedback. Not forgetting that really that there are no secrets anymore. You can hide, you can tell a story, but eventually truth will surface. People will work that out. Like I said, technology today is our best source of information. Having said that, not everything's validated. So people need to validate what they read. And do multi-checks.
You've given me a really good idea. There should be a form of TripAdvisor, but for sustainability. So people actually go on and they comment on, what they found. Well, actually they say that they're not washing your towels, but how often have you found that you do hang up your towels and still you get clean towels, or you still get clean bed sheets, or, it's almost like these little signs there around the room are there for
Decoration.
Absolutely, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, absolutely, for decoration.
Look, it's a very scary idea. I'm against that idea of having another review for the simple reason is that first we need to educate the people what does it mean, and what are you reviewing, what are you commenting, because it could be very damaging and it could be very abused, sadly.
Yes, this is true.
So it's one of those things. It's like, yes, I'm all for it, nonetheless it's what is it exactly that is a benchmark.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. Could you, I know you've mentioned the bottled water, you've mentioned the towels, you've mentioned breakfast. Is there anything that you could say without perhaps pointing fingers? What's the biggest greenwashing that you think is happening in the industry?
Look, I think a lot of it really is a component of laundry. That's where people get sucked into, because we can't see what happens. We don't know what happens. We genuinely don't know what happens in that cycle, in that process. So the biggest is what we see, what we really feel and touch. All we see is fresh linen, fresh towels in our guest rooms, and that's it.
Can you share some successful stories of sustainability that you have come across?
Lots, actually. Sustainability, like I said, for me, it's the biggest challenge is understanding what sustainability is. It's like luxury. You ask luxury to someone who's hungry, they'll say to you food. You say luxury to someone who has everything, they will say an amazing hotel destination, perhaps, or a travel. So, and the same with sustainability. What is it? Is it about keep the water running when you're brushing your teeth, when you're shaving, or is it about making sure that we are investing in solar energy? So for me, all of these things are really success stories. If you take all these farms that we have in the desert now, these solar farms, that is an incredible story that I don't know why it's not on every headline. It should be spoken about, because that's really the future. As a matter of fact, I think this is if you talk about solar back in Australia, where you can actually, whatever you're generating and whatever you're not using, if you reach your capacity, you can give back to the main grid and you get paid for it. So I think these are the initiatives that governments that should be really encouraging people to engage in and do that, because not only are you saving, you're contributing, and your investment is actually contributing to the success of the infrastructure of the country. So everybody wins. Endless success stories. However, equally as endless, there are endless stories that don't actually make any sense that we really need to tackle. We need to address. If I give you one last example, electric vehicles, I'm strongly against. What are we going to do with all these batteries eventually? What is the plan for the batteries? Because there is a big problem that's going to mount, and these are big in size, they're extremely dangerous, they are extremely flammable. So what is that plan? Something to think about.
Something to think about for sure. I'm afraid I don't have the answer to that one. But yes, it is certainly a brewing question. So moving slightly just to food, do you regard a hotel implementing or introducing more vegan and vegetarian options as something that makes a hotel more sustainable, given the impact of the livestock industry on global warming?
Look, I think vegan, vegetarian, all of these kind of movements, I call them, are here to stay. I think they're growing. Nonetheless, I think it's all about reasonable approaches. I don't think we need to be flying stuff all over the world in order to make them super special or super delicious. I think, again, local production, local manufacturing should be at the priority of everything that we do. As far as I'm concerned, I think having a balanced menu is what it's about. I think, do we need to eat a steak every day? Absolutely not. Do we need to eat seafood every day? Definitely not. I think it's all about balance. It's all about creating that kind of what is a healthy balance, and what is a healthy balance to you and what it is to my body could be a very different thing. So we need to understand our bodies and not just jump on any trend that is the trend or that makes me look good or makes me belong to a successful brand rather than anything else. So I think a lot of it is dangerous as well, because what regime you take as an individual doesn't necessarily work on every other person.
Absolutely. I think you need to be very careful when you decide to choose a particular diet, whatever that may be. I've been vegetarian since 2017, and it's been really interesting to see in the hospitality industry in the UAE change. There are so many more options available now for vegans and vegetarians. Have you found that to be the case with your
100%,
properties?
100%. Look, we used to put 1 or 2 items on the menu to say we cater for vegetarians, whereas now the menu is balanced, like I said. And I think you don't have to be vegan and or vegetarian to order a good salad. I think it's it's equally as good of a meal, in order to, as long as the produce is fresh and crisp and flavoursome. That's all it takes. I think. Look, back to my point. If we take education and start educating kids from a very young age about sustainability, about well-being, about nutrition, are we not better off than teaching them chemistry and math and stuff that they may never use? I mean, I've done some topics in my life that really I don't really need in my life, whereas I need to understand how my body functions.
I mean, this is a whole new topic of conversation about the educational system, and I couldn't agree more with you. I think we need another podcast for that. It's such a huge subject. But yes, I completely agree. Like you said at the beginning of when we started talking, that sustainability needs to be in the curriculum, and it is much more so than it used to be. But yes, things like learning how to save money as opposed to learning how to make some weird experiment in a chemistry lab. So, I mean, lastly, have you? It was very sad that last year a couple of your restaurants, Public and Folly, were closed down.
Why was it sad?
Well, because they were great places.
Okay, interesting.
They were lovely places.
I don't see it as a sad story. I see it as a business decision, and I see it as we will find another location for them. They'll come back to life where they belong and where they'll thrive, and they will produce equally as exciting and enticing memories.
Well, yes, when I say sad, I meant from a consumer point of view.
It's a very sensitive topic, as you might have picked.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my question was, and I think you've just answered it now, was, are they going to come back somewhere else, or do you have any other ventures in the pipeline?
Look, I don't actually go around selling a brand. I don't look at where can I put a Folly or where can it's not a Costa brand. It's, with all due respect to these colleagues, it's not about I need another location. I need the brand to have 20 units. I look at destinations. I look at vacuums, and I see who are the demographics, who's the comp set, how is accessibility, how is ease of parking, and who are we going to compete against? And then I find a solution. And I think that's how my career has been really built on. It's identify a vacuum, study the marketplace, and plug a solution, rather than I desperately need to have Folly back in the marketplace. Is it desperate? I'd like to, but is anyone losing sleep for not having it? I'm certainly not. I'd like to bring it back to life because of the reputation it had, because of this accolades it's left in the marketplace, because of the power of the brand, and because I love the brand. Nonetheless, until I find the right place, until I find the right mechanics that will tick all of the boxes in order to make a educated business decision, I will not sign it up.
Okay, well, we shall be waiting with anticipation
soon.
To
trust
see
me,
what
soon.
happens.
I'm on the last leg of discussions.
Okay. Oh, insider secrets. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, thank you. Look, I'm honestly, I'm an advocate of wellness. I'm an advocate of education, and sustainability is part of what everybody should be embracing, learning about, and talking about, rather than focusing on negative energy. Let's learn, let's share, and let's make sure the young ones have a platform that they can really enjoy, rather than having to fix what we have damaged.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly. It's about saving it, not for ourselves, but for future generations. So I completely agree with you. And it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so
much for coming to On the Couch with the Ethicalist. And we shall see you soon.